Welcome to Throwing Shade. There's one thing that all of the sports, the major ones, have in common, and that's a draft. Let me back up by saying ESPN, the SEC, and Disney are crafting a fairy tale without a happy ending. As I mentioned, the thing that's universally true with all the sports is that they draft. Now, there's a reason for that. Years ago, sports were dominated regionally, and we can talk about the teams that were in that domination. But as I was thinking and recalling each of the different programs and their storied histories, it reminded me of a book written by Toni Morrison. Toni Morrison is an African American writer. And she's written some wonderful things. The movie Beloved is based on the book that she wrote. The book that she wrote that I was referencing this morning is called The Big Box. And it stars Patty and Mickey and Liza Sue. And it's worth the read. One of the lines in the poem goes, "Oh, it's pretty inside and the windows are wide with shutters that keep out the day. They have swings and slides and custom-made beds, and the doors only open one way." Years ago, the New York Knicks kind of dominated the market. The New York Yankees dominated baseball. There was a time when the Cowboys were called America's team for a reason, and literally because they dominated that era of sports. At one time, it was either the Celtics or the Lakers were kind of the choices you had in the NBA because of the dominance of those programs. But what the NBA, the NFL, and baseball discovered is that kind of dominance isn't good for the long-term health of the league. And so the thing that all these sports have in common that I mentioned earlier, they draft. They draft so that they can create some sense of parity within the league because it's good for the health of the league. It's not because the fans lost interest, but each league took it upon itself to redistribute the talent through draft picks. They used salary caps and a variety of other tools to make sure that we weren't watching essentially the same teams do the same thing every year. It was further good for the overall survival of the league. One of the other lines in The Big Box goes, "Oh, the seagulls scream, the rabbits hop, and beavers chew trees when they need them. But Patty and Mickey and Liza Sue, they just can't handle their freedom." The SEC has so many things wrong with it. Philosophically, they've taken none of the lessons that sports has learned and history has demonstrated and applied them to the present. Currently, they are trying to recreate problems that we long thought we had expunged from sports. The pretentiousness of the league is really a dangerous thing. And here's what happens. So when I say sports are alike, this is what I mean. The SEC, Florida, Alabama, the southern states, not only is their football wrong, but they are currently 5 of the highest COVID-19 outbreaks under the new Delta variant have happened in the SEC, essentially, in schools that are in the SEC. Missouri, the governor of Missouri had to be sued by the citizens of Missouri so that he would allow them to have health care. They had to be sued by the citizens of Missouri so they could be allowed to have health care. The citizens sued him. They voted for health care, the law passed, and rather than give them Obamacare in the middle of a pandemic, the governor refused and attempted to veto that bill. So 20% of all of the new cases of the COVID outbreak have happened in Florida. Governor DeSantis, as he sees this machismo that is manifests itself not just in their football, but in their policies, is not just bad for football, but it's bad for the country. It's bad for the people. It's a relic of the past, but it somehow gained new life in this polarizing era of politics. If history is a teacher, and it is, this expansion will end horribly. As Toni Morrison said, they just can't handle their freedom. There's another paragraph from the poem I'd like to read. Patty used to live in a two-way door in a little white house that was near us. She had too much fun in school all day, and it made all the parents nervous. She talked in the library and sang in class and went to the toilet 4 times. She ran through the halls and wouldn't play with dolls. And when we pledged it to the flag, she'd spoil it. Last session, I talked about the Vikings quarterback room that is essentially empty because players on the Vikings roster have been reticent to get the vaccine. As a consequence, the entire team will be roughly a month behind in preparation because of it. But this win at all cost is just too expensive. It's a lesson we thought we learned, but somehow in this age of polarizing politics has raised its head once again in the SEC. They may gain something in the short run, but this situation will rectify itself at some point in the long run. Or what do I know? I'm just throwing shade. Thanks for spending some time today. I hope to see you later on this week.